Well, good afternoon and welcome to episode 25 titled Incident in High School with Gym Teacher, the Birthday Conundrum at My Age, and My Ideas for Evolution. In high school, we had an unusual gym teacher who was also a baseball and track coach named Babe Amendola. I'm glad that I recalled some of his antics, but one stood out more than the others. He was a colorful man, streetwise, wisecracking, and boisterous guy who on occasion would have a few belts to keep him on top of his game. He was not shy or restrained, and I recall one of his speeches at our annual football banquet that was quite humorous, but I won't go into that right now. He was fun to be around, no doubt about that. But on this one episode in a gym class during the very end of our senior year, he definitely had partaken in a few drinks and was on fire. I don't recall the specifics of the incident, but something got his leg up and he went off on one of his schoolmates and told them a line I could not forget. And I realized that this was somewhat inappropriate, but we were seniors in high school, and the humor of his comments outweighed the unsuitable tirade. So Babe said, in my best recall of the affair, "Don't fuck with me, man. You don't want to mess with me because I'll surround you. Everywhere you look, I'll be right there in front of you, 360 degrees. You'll wish you were never alive, and you'll see me in all your nightmares because I am a nightmare." I did the best I could with remembering this. And it went something like that. And all I can recall is that some of us almost fell on the ground laughing hysterically. And he meant it. And he definitely enjoyed the reaction he got. He actually laughed also. I'm so glad I remembered this after all this time. You don't forget these moments. And this was 1972, almost 50 years ago. On my 67th birthday, I couldn't help wondering if birthdays after all these years actually get better or worse. It's a conundrum. You get older every year, and certainly there is no thrill in becoming a year older at my age. But the alternative is worse. If you don't get to celebrate, if you want to call it that at my age, you're no longer alive. So I have to side with the former, and I won't complain anymore in advanced age and birthdays. And I have absolutely nothing to complain about. Life's been very good to me, and I've led a charmed life with a wonderful family and friends all these years. Lastly, I decided to celebrate my 67th birthday the night before my actual birthday, and consequently felt the effects of the celebration the next morning. So I asked my wife if I could take the day off and relax, and she replied, "Sure, why would this be any different from any other day?" There's a saying that goes, "You leave this earth because God needs you." If that's the case, then I may never die. He, she, or it is still trying to figure out what my purpose is, but I'm sure he, she, or it will eventually figure it out. Evolution will continue its course, and I naturally have my own ideas for evolution of the human species. Number one, our eyes will evolve to something similar to that of a lizard's eyes. The pace and complexity of modern society will necessitate this. Currently, our eyes are lacking in the capacity to serve our vision needs for today's pace and intricacies. In support of my notion, the average grocery store carries 40,000 items and Walmart carries about 120,000 items. Try scanning all that. Number two, our developments in technology over the past century or so have created some remarkable applications and devices, and I'm sure that these creations will continue. But I foresee us starting to both minimize and reeling in our devices and automation through regulation. Most of this technology lacks transparency, and the continual use of these devices is making us more stupid and reliant on them. And I don't think that anyone under 35 can go anywhere without their phone. Number three, food. We do need to reduce the constant slaughter of animals and fish, which will minimize global warming and replenish our forests, jungles, and grasslands and waterways. We could lead healthier lives with plant-based foods, and our natural habitats can be restored. Number four I have is religion. This ancient cult is being diminished by the realities of our world. More and more people are moving away from religion, but I do have to admit that they do offer comfort for those in need. They do help the poor and homeless, and in today's divided world of politics, personal philosophies, and beliefs, the church offers sanctuary to those in need, which most national and local governments do not. As of right now, November 2021, there is a great need for sanctuary. Number five, movies. There are just too many movies being made today that are forgettable, lackluster, ridiculous, unentertaining, and basically a waste of time, effort, and capital. And number six, lastly, professional sports seasonal lens, which I spoke of in my previous post. Quite simply, they play too many games with the exception of the NFL, which I just reviewed. Their season is just right. 17 games over 18 weeks with 3 weeks of playoffs. Baseball's 162 regular season games are absurd. They should play half as many games. And both the NHL and NBA play 82 games a year, and that should probably reduce to about 50 to 55 games. Like I'm a specialist in this, especially in the NHL, where the speed, hits, skill, and ice and boards, no out of bounds, magnifies the injuries and length of careers of the players. And the MLS Soccer League is okay with their regular season games of 34. My Facebook post on New Year's Eve 2020, after nearly 10 months of the COVID-19 pandemic, was as follows. Just another day in 2020. I have places to go and people to see, but can't do either. So best wishes to all of us for a better year in 2021, and hope we can get out again and socialize sometime this coming year. It was a lonely year, but if you survived it, you can't complain. And here it is, almost a year later. Dreams while asleep are attempts at resolution, but as in real life, resolution is a myth, always fleeting and temporary. Being a Southern New Englander from Southern Connecticut, we naturally despise everyone from Boston. Only kidding, of course. Don't take anything I say very seriously unless I state that I'm being serious. But then again, everyone hates people from Boston. Even people from Boston hate other people from Boston. Rude, crude, and nasty folks who despise hating their own kind would much rather deal with their fellow Bostonites than any other outsider. Yet here is the catch. I do love the state of Massachusetts. It has great beaches on the Cape, along with Plum Island, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. And Boston historically is one of the better cities to visit in the country. Oh yeah, and I hate their accents, which I'll get into more later. Don't believe a word my wife says during my eulogy, but then again, she probably won't speak at my eulogy. She'd rather not. There are too many not so good things to speak of, and she'll be forced to only relate the good things that I did, however few there were. Husbands and wives know way too much of each other. And lastly, for this session, while shopping for an ink cartridge at the Staples store recently, I realized that we needed a new stapler and staples. So I naturally asked the clerk if they had staples, and a stapler, and that they would have no excuse not to have both since the store is called Staples. Naturally, he was not amused, nor was I. I was bored. I could always blame it on COVID-19, and I will stop here.